Yo, Ballgame.
It's about to get 5 o'clock
on a Tuesday, and you're going to tell us why are you going to Boise State hoops tonight? Is it because
that's your team?
You don't care what their record is. You're going to see their games. Is it because
I bought season
tickets
and
we're not going to waste a season ticket? Or is there any other reason?
That's what we want to welcome in our YouTube audience on our YouTube channel for this program today. But Prater, we're going to do this segment about football.
Because football rules. They had a football press conference today, and there were more folks at that press conference probably than any other press conference on campus this week, and that's just football in this town.
That sounds like a Leon Runway shot.
Someone told me, it was like, man, the press conferences are getting smaller and smaller for hoops, and part of the reason is we can't go. Typically, they come at a time where it just doesn't not conducive for our show to go to both. And Bob Beatler's there, so he gets the audio for us. But there's a few guys there today. Prater, Alvis Whitted, Terrence Brown, and Frank Maile officially introduced as assistant coaches, position coaches for the Boise State football staff 2026.
It's one of my favorite underwhelming. I really like this day. We didn't do it last year because Spencer Daniels spent way too much time bragging about how he kept all 10 of his assistants. And I like the change. I like the little turnover. And we got a little turnover. A third of the staff is brand new this year. Is not really new. We understand that this is kind of his third installment of Boise State. He was here before as an assistant head coach, defensive line coach. Last year he was under Chenander as an assistant to an assistant. Now he's the full-time defensive line coach. And Frank Maile was really good to see, but just showing up and meeting new dudes who eat, sleep, drink, and breathe football. And Ballgame, I know you're a chunky, but anytime we can hang out with a couple of new coaches, and these guys were so well-spoken and so cool and so much fun to get to know. I had a blast today, and we wanted to kind of pass it on to you guys. Terrence Brown and then Alvis Whitted. Our two of them, we're going to also hear from Frank Maile a little bit, but it was really cool to get to know these guys.
No question. And it's kind of weird. There's not a corner and safety coach this year. It's just the defensive back is one big position. They're gonna all sit together. They're gonna be in, and then there's some pretty good explanations as to why.
We're gonna dive into that tomorrow. We're gonna dive into that tomorrow. And you guys probably know this. In the 4 o'clock hour tomorrow, we're gonna dive into a couple of things that Terrence Brown said about reuniting the cornerbacks in the safety room. And then we're also going to continue our new player spotlight with a brand new defensive back in his room. So tomorrow from 4 to 4:30, completely devoted to Boise State's defensive back room and how it's changed dramatically and really dramatically in a lot of different ways. So we'll dive into that deeper tomorrow.
Chuck Pagano,
5 o'clock tomorrow. What's up now? I think he's back in Boise. The Baltimore Ravens thing is done because Coach Harbaugh is done. I think Chuck Pagano's back in Boise. So we're going to catch up on his career, why he's back and living in Boise. And then we're also going to dive deep into the Combine. 3 questions, 3 things about the Combine that are important, and 3 things at the Combine that are a complete, total waste of time.
All right, Terrence Brown. He's the new defensive backs coach at Boise State. And what's his why? Why does he, this new coach, how did he get this position? How did it all come together? Terrence Brown.
I think like college football, there's a lot of things that take place in terms of, the staff movements, that has occurred, throughout the entirety of the year. Coach Danielson, somebody that I've known for quite some time. When he was at Azusa Pacific, one of my best friends was actually going to school at Azusa Pacific at the time. And we met early on in our coaching career, and I've always respected him. In terms of, what he stood for. I'm a man of faith as well, and to be able to speak and share, our journey and our walk and developing our relationship with Christ has been a blessing over the years. And so when this opportunity presented itself, for me, it was a no-brainer. I felt like I was called in this direction. And I've had ties with the Boise State tree for quite some time. Chris Peterson was a mentor of mine, or still is a mentor of mine. And I worked with a list of coaches that have had the opportunity to work at Boise State.
We played that clip a little earlier about his connection to Peterson. He was with Cal Poly in spring of 2015 and was able to get himself onto Coach Peterson's staff for a couple of years as a graduate assistant. Then he came back with Washington as an assistant defensive backs coach, and he's been with Justin Wilcox at Cal since 2024, including last year as the co-defensive coordinator. A couple of other Boise State dudes on that Cal staff as well. So he knows the Boise State way, and he certainly knows Spencer Danielson. That's how we ended up in Boise ballgame.
Yeah, and it's so crazy. The Spencer Danielson, Chris Peterson, the connection. We've heard Azusa Pacific several times on this show, and there's another connection right there, Terrence Brown, the defensive backs coach. Well, it's going to be a big room this year for Terrence Brown. No more separation of corners, safeties, and nickels. What is the first impressions Terrence Brown has of his new defensive back room?
One of the things that everybody's going to say is inexperience in terms of some of the pieces that have gone on to their next chapter in their career. But for us, I see a group that's hungry. I see a group that's coachable. They're seeking and they're soaking information like sponges. And then they're working really hard. And so I think as time continues to progress, I think I'll continue to gain more of a true understanding of the talent in the areas that we're strong in and the areas that we need to improve. But for the most part, these guys it's a really good group of guys, I mean, everybody in the room, they get along well with one another, and they've welcomed me in. And so I'm just grateful to be a part of what's going on.
Guys, I just wanted to say this is probably the room that intrigues me maybe the most as we get into camp, because it was very veteran heavy last season. And obviously they brought in, I think we talked about him in the Player Spotlight Series, Cam Jamerson joins this room. And it sounds like they do have a lot of guys that were younger, that were on the depth chart, that maybe didn't play a ton last year, who are now going to be given opportunities to rise into bigger roles. So a lot of new opportunities here, it seems like.
Terrence Brown has more people coaching than anybody else on the Boise State staff. Usually that title belongs to the offensive line coach. As the Boise State roster sits right now, there are 18 offensive linemen for Tim Keene to work with, and there are 20 defensive backs for Coach Brown. So 8 brand new players, 12 returning players. And later on in the interview, we did asking about mixing and matching and who can play what different positions, and he's all about that kind of stuff. So we will spend a lot of time, to Greg's point, in spring camp, which starts on March 26th. I believe that's a Thursday. Whatever that Thursday is, March 26th is when spring camp begins. We will be spending a lot of time looking at the DB room.
So late to start spring ball, Prater. I can't believe it's over a month away still. Spring football in Boise, Idaho. Alvis Whitted, the new wide receivers coach, replaces the longtime receiver coach, Matt Miller, very popular player here. I think his receiver units left some more to be determined, Prater. I think there was meat on that bone, or maybe they just didn't have the talent they needed at the position. But Alvis Whitted has a pretty good resume, doesn't he, Prater?
Yeah, unbelievable resume, NFL career in North Carolina State. He's got Olympic track and field speed, a lot of track and field in his background. He was a 2-sport star at North Carolina State.
All right, what's his why? Alvis Whitted, how did he end up? This is from the press conference earlier today with the follow question, but Alvis Whitted, why join this program?
Obviously, to be a part of a program with a stellar background and careers of the coaches that have come before, the championships they won. I played against this football team in other places, and they've always had tremendous football teams. So that's probably one of them. And then obviously Spencer, he's the main reason I'm here. And I think God put us together for a reason, and I'm just going to thank God for that and really do all the things that I can to help this football team in every capacity.
What is the Spencer connection?
Jim Leonard. That was a mutual connection. Jim Leonard and I, we were together at Wisconsin, my 3 years there. I don't know how they were connected or at what point, but somehow they started communicating when Coach Miller left, and the ball got rolling from there.
Jim Leonard, by the way, a Wisconsin football player. That's kind of where they met, bounced around a little bit. Jim Leonard is now the defensive coordinator. After a couple of years with the Denver Broncos, he is now the defensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills. So that is a connection between Spencer Danielson and Alvis Whitted in terms of, again, I don't know how Spencer knows Leonard, but the Leonard that he referred to is the Buffalo Bills defensive coordinator.
Yeah, he's a Wisconsin legend, Jim Leonard.
Yes.
And he'll be an NFL or major college head football coach one of these years. Jim Leonard will be very impressive start there too. And Alvis Whitted, knowing him and the Spencer Daniel connection. And man, Alvis Whitted, the speed, the history he's had as a wide receiver in coaching, but also playing a long time in the NFL. Well, we asked Alvis Whitted, wide receivers coach, Boise State, what was your first impression of your wide receiver room?
Very young, extremely talented, and they're moldable, and they're going to get better. I'm excited for the room. I'm excited for the kids that are there, for the group that's there, the guys that are here working and competing. I'm excited, and we're gonna be a good group.
Some of the transfers you brought in, I remember at the time, I think at least one of them or two of them were already coming before you, or I don't know how all the timing worked. If not, or they were at least considering visiting or whatever. I mean, some of the transfers you brought in at receiver, how expected are some of those guys to I know you haven't seen them on a field yet, but make
Sure.
be starters or make big impacts, I guess.
Well, that's part of it. I believe we watched their tape and we evaluated them to be guys that could come in and really help right now from a football standpoint. And as we've gotten to know these young men, I mean, their character and the qualities they present are very indicative of what this culture is. And they've bought in and they're here working. Just excited for the opportunities for them. And Darren is a guy that, played a lot of football at Southern. Really loved the way he played the game of football. You watch his tape. Same thing with Akeem. He's a guy with the ball in his hands. He's different. The light turns on and he just, the way I say, he tries to hit his head on the goalpost every time he has the ball. So those are the kind of traits and attributes that I look for in guys that play this game. And I believe that, when they continually grasp the offense and get comfortable in it, I think you'll see a lot of their natural abilities unfold and take place.
That's Alvis Whitted, Boise State's new wide receivers coach. He's talking about a couple of recruits, Darren Morris out of Southern FCS program and Akeem Wright out of De Anza Junior College. Alvis Whitted recruited both of them specifically. He was out there recruiting for Boise State weeks before he was announced as Boise State's wide receivers coach. He was grinding behind the scenes. That's kind of how the story broke. He was the first coach that we broke the story of him coming to Boise State because all the recruits kept talking about this new coach that they're talking to and Alvis Whitted and what he's doing and the kind of attention that he's bringing to the wide receiver room. So look for Darren Morris and Akeem Wright to be absolute key contributors to this wide receiver room right off the bat in September.
And this was a spot too where just watching them last year, they just really missed some playmakers on the outside.
So that's what Akeem Wright is. Trust me, watch his stuff at De Anza. The guy scored like every third time he touched the ball last season. He's not wrong. Frank Maile. Oh, this was fun. Frank Maile was back last year after he left a few years back, went to Washington State, came back last year as an assistant D-line coach. They moved
assistant to the assistant.
Thank you. They moved Chin to just defensive coordinator now. And Frank Maile gets his own room back. He is the defensive line coach here at Boise State. And we asked Frank Maile his why in the combo of timing and whatnot. What needed to happen for this Frank Maile connection to be able to be back here on the blue coaching the defensive line?
I knew coming back here would be awesome for my family, my wife, and my children, especially my two boys that I still have in the house left. We love it here. This is a special place to us. And so there's a lot of family and friends that we hold dear to our hearts here. And so being here it was humbling. It's a blessing. And I'm excited for the opportunity that Coach Danielson gave.
Yep, there's the opportunity, Frank Maile. Well, the message Frank Maile is sending. This was at the press conference earlier today. We talked with all three of these coaches. Frank Maile talked about the message that he's sending to his defensive line.
Do you know what? I like where their mind is right now. I like where their mindset is right now. That was my challenge for them after last season, right? Kind of left a sour taste in our mouth after the last game. We had a couple of weeks to kind of sit in that a little bit, which was rough. But I like where their mindset is at. I challenged them in our first meeting that this offseason, this winter training was going to be about mindset. And really, it's exactly what that is, man. I needed to know if they were all in. right? We don't have time for guys to be 90% in. That's not going to work this year.
What about your group and just some of the turnover there? And obviously, you had to replenish that a little bit.
Yeah, man. Dave and Mike and Lopez played a lot last year, right? And so it was good to have those three back. Some guys that have experience. We were able to gain some young guys coming into the program. New faces with KO, with Paz and Rowan. But I like where the room is at right now. Their mindset's where I wanted it to be. We just got to continue to grow on that.
Any thoughts there? You guys let us know. 208-424-9300. Are you liking what you're hearing? You heard from the defensive backs coach, the receivers coach, and now Frank Maile back being your defensive line coach on Prater on the Ballgame. So let us know, and we want to know your why. Maybe it's as simple as, well, what else am I going to do? Maybe it's because I still think they're going to win an NCAA tournament game. What's your why? Why are you going to Boise State, Wyoming tonight at Extra Mile Arena? Let us know. 208-424-9300. KTIK, the ticket.
From the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Studio, this is Ticket Traffic.
Lithia Ford of Boise kicking off